All right, put a recording on, and we are not yet on Facebook, but we're trying. All right, we are live, everybody, and a little early. And there's Rebecca, our guest. All right, so just give me a second here. We are always setting up streaming live to Facebook a little early because we've had so many hang-ups in the past. So Rebecca, you're getting organized too. Fantastic. Okay. All right, I just need your, say hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Rebecca.
Hello. Oh, there you go.
Got me?
Okay, awesome. Yay, I can hear. Yeah, can you, you sound good, but can you put it so that we are looking more down? Where's your camera? It's a funky view.
Probably not.
The other way. Now your chest. There you go. There you go. Okay, good. Perfect. All right. Awesome. Welcome, my friend, and welcome everybody else. Hi, Erin. All right. Well, welcome back to Everything Horses and More live podcast. And we're a little bit early. That's okay. We've got a lot of great stuff to talk about today, and hopefully I'll be able to share my screen so that we can actually look at a little bit of video. Rebecca, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you, our guest speaker, and I'm also going to start with what you sent me. I'm going to go ahead and introduce it. And how I'd like to, today's topic, let's start there, is how labels damage horses. How labels damage people too, but specifically we're going to talk about labeling our horses. And our guest speaker today is Rebecca Seibel. Welcome, my friend. And did I say your last name? Is your last name Seibel or Seibel?
Seibel.
Seibel. I never say that right.
Actually say
German.
that right.
Seibel.
Seibel.
Good.
Yeah,
Remind me, because it's E-I.
Yeah.
I know.
Seibel. That's how you say it in German, Seibel.
Oh, that's
So
why.
That's why I say Seibel.
And I would think because it's E-I, it's Seibel, but in
Right.
German, it's Seibel.
Yes.
Okay, maybe that'll click for me.
Got it.
All right, sorry about that. All right. Real quick on a side note, will you grab that bowl? She hasn't seen the bowl yet.
Oh.
So Rebecca, I'm going to show you the beautiful bowl that you had made. So you guys, Rebecca is a very dear, awesome, close friend of mine. And I'm going to show you guys what she sent me out of the blue from one of my favorite potters, Winchester Pottery. And it is a depiction of all of my horses. Look at this.
She really nailed a few of them.
It is so, yeah, she sure did. I wonder who this one is, and this one, and this one. The Trinities, that's smoke.
Socks. Yeah.
Did you put Smokers in here? Yep.
Smokers is in
That's
there
Smoker.
with a wavy mane and two rear.
Oh yeah,
socks.
I know. Yep. Then Sundance, then Legend. And after Lay, it looks like, that's a tough one. I would say it almost looks like Zor would be the next one after Legend, his nemesis.
Yeah. And I think the Broso and Blue are both bay, so they were hard to, even though in person they're very different.
Yeah, that's got to be Sabroso right there. It's more of a Pasofino. Right. Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Thank you. Beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. Thank you, love. That's just beautiful. It does not get used, even though this is dishwasher safe. It is going to be, thank you so much. It's just beautiful. Oh my God, I could cry. Anyway, I just, Winchester Pottery, just email me, you guys, and I can send you. I love them. I have unbeknownst to Rebecca, when I started out as a clinician back in 2009, they were, they also travel all over the country, and they do a lot of horse expos. They do a lot of different events, but, obviously horse expos. So I got my first beautiful piece of pottery from them, a beautiful mug.
I had no idea.
So that's exciting. Okay. I know, isn't that cool? Yeah, they're my favorite. All right, everybody, welcome again. If you're just coming on, because we started a little early, today's podcast is how labels damage horses and people. And Rebecca Seibel is our guest speaker, all the way from, what's the weather like there?
Today it's 55 and
What's
rainy.
your weather like?
55 and rainy. All our snow is going away.
Turn your volume up and rainy. Okay, turn your volume up, my dear. Is it up?
It is up. Hang on, I might need to adjust.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yes, Sabrina, with the window behind you, can you see how you're?
How bright, now I'm getting lower.
No,
I don't know how I
Is
can
that
move
better
with
or
it.
not?
you're good. Don't move.
Yeah, okay. I'm just bright.
How about that?
You're a bright light. Talk. No, it's not any different.
That's no better? It should be better. I disconnected my auxiliary
Is it
screen.
you?
Yeah, my volume's already up. All right, just stay close to your computer then, unfortunately.
Okay, I'll speak loudly.
Huh, that stinks.
Mhm.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay. All right, everybody. You know Sabrina, my lovely co-host, Sabrina Arbogast. So she's here to take questions. So if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate. And she'll be watching out for those. All right. Hi, Becky. Hi, Emma, Tilia, Allison, Aaron. Great to see all of you guys. Welcome. All right. So I'm going to start out this conversation, and then I will get Rebecca to jump in, because I think it's just in my experience, when I let you guys start, you deviate so much from what you send me, and we can deviate, but let's get the main points across. So I'm just going to go with the main points, so it resonates, it can sit in and for everyone to digest and think about. And then we can deviate. And then hopefully, I'm not so sure, Rebecca, the actual video, which I'm ready to screen share, the actual video is going to help. We'll try. I think maybe if we do the video, we'll talk first about what you saw in the video, the course. So basically, Rebecca, we're going to be referring everyone to my Restarting the Young Challenging Horse course. Rebecca belongs to that one. She belongs to the OTTB, Restarting the Older Horse, specifically the Thoroughbred, and then she's a Mastery membership student too. So she's really pulling in, a lot of learning and observation. All right. So once labeled, horses and humans consciously and unconsciously get treated the way their label speaks about them. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about, between Rebecca and me, people and horses, is pretty much the same. Because with our horses, it's us, it's our mindset, our attitude, our perceptions, whether they're skewed, distorted, or, more balanced. It's still us as a human identifying our horse, not our horses identifying themselves. So throughout this podcast, I will be referring to a lot of, some copy that I've pulled in, like from Psychology Today, so forth and so on, about how we label. And I'm also going to talk about profiling. So that's going to be a good subject too, and why the two are, it's very important to talk about both of them, because often we misinterpret, misunderstand, and misuse language period. And that's something that I identify in the Mastery Membership Program in the very beginning as one of the core areas of development for the person in my program is understanding ourselves. And so we're going to talk about, because I think ding, 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 the minute we bring up labeling, I think most of us associate profiling with labeling, and they are very different. Completely different. And it's really important that we identify that, because I profile all the time. That's what I do for a living. I'm a profiler. So if you're a behaviorist, you are profiling people and profiling horses. That's what you do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and how that's going to help you, Rebecca, all of you students out there, whether you're studying my work or someone else's work, or just studying your horse and learning along the way. You've got to become an excellent profiler. So I'll talk more about that, but let's jump into what Rebecca sent me, some of the key core topics. And then Rebecca, I'll give you a chance after I read, we'll dive into it a little deeper. Does that sound good to you, girl?
Good.
Okay, all right. So Rebecca starts out with, I've been a Mastery Membership student formally for about a year now, and studying less intensely for 3 years. And that's specifically, she's been studying my method. She's come for one-on-one private work, group immersions. Your previous horse was here for a while. So you've been studying with me, off and on for a few years, and then you became a Mastery Membership student about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca writes, I subscribed to the retraining, the OTTB course, then restarting the Young Challenging Horse course. We talk about awareness of self, and I do in all of my courses. I talk about awareness of self, awareness of situation. I talk about, and this is what Rebecca's learning, slowing down, about taking the time it takes, letting go of agendas, and not just trying to allow for the magic, but holding the space for the magic to appear. And Rebecca, what is the magic for you? What does that mean? And how does that show up when you find that magic when you're working with your horse?
Right. For me, can you hear me okay?
Sounds real good, yeah.
Okay, good. I did adjust my settings. For me, the magic is sort of that unexpected thing, which fits into I still have an agenda, right? I still want to have a good relationship. I still want to be able to feed people feed the horses without drama. I want to be able to get, halters and bridles and saddles, and I want to go riding, and I want to be able to do, work and exercises in the arena or outside. But the magic lies within that pathway and within that agenda, meaning the unexpected jumps, the unexpected advances in our relationship that aren't part of perhaps the agenda for that particular day. So I come into it, if I'm coming into it with an open mind, with fresh information, and not deciding and not having a label like, oh, this horse is a problem, whatever, then it allows for possibilities. So to me, that's what it is.
Yep, it's a mindset. Very good. Yeah, very good. So let's say an example would be, because we can all relate to this, you had a really challenging time with your horse the previous day, and you're coming back in to fix it. And, what kind of mindset it is all about mindset and attitude at this point. It's like I always say, when I'm dealing with challenging situations around horses or with horses, or a combination of both. And I say this often in my YouTube videos, and just recently in the ones where I'm all bundled up because it was cold. I think it was the month of February, and Blue's, his reintroduction to the tarp. I'm very aware of everything that's going on. It's windy out, the tarp is blowing, the horses are messing with it while I'm trying to get Blue familiar with it again and comfortable with it again. So where's my mindset? My mindset is, wow, I'd like to see us progress from the last time or the day before. So I don't lose sight of that objective or that goal or that agenda. It's a good word because agenda gives us some structure. You know, I'm not going to completely abandon what I need to do, but how flexible are we? And when we label, we get very linear and we get fixated. And then we bring that mindset and that energy and that intentional mindset, and that fills up our body, whether it's with, you know, anxiety or despair or frustration. And so, yeah, you know, labeling is accompanied by a mindset. And of course, when we expand on this a little further into the podcast about how we label, you know, people and labeling in society, period, it's also the way you're brought up too. So, you know, mindsets are formed at very early ages, obviously from the dynamic of our family. Everything comes from the dynamic of our family, you guys, whether you like it or not. And, you know, a lot of people just don't realize or pay attention to how much our family dynamic hurts us and or helps us, and can do both. So yeah, the magic from what you're talking about, from what I'm gathering, is those little bits of pieces of time that you let go of the agenda. There's nothing, it's like the destination. I'm so sick and tired of everyone saying it's not a destination, it's a journey. It's both. It's both. You know, it's both. Hey, I want to get to that destination. That destination motivates me. So the destination every day for all of us, if we change our mindset a little bit, is our agenda. You know, the agenda motivates me to go out and do the work, you know, go out and try again, go out and challenge myself, challenge my horse. So there's nothing wrong with these words. It's how we use them. You know, what is the context? And then it's how we show up. And that's what you're talking about more specifically, Rebecca, how you show up during that agenda or during that that journey to the destination. And I think, you know, we can get stuck, period, whether we're labeling or whatever it is, we can get stuck, all of us, in life in general and in our horsemanship, when we don't allow for those small moments of being present. That's the magic, when you just are going either slow enough or you stop and pause to allow the horse to express himself, or allow for that connection, but allow for things to happen. You go ahead. What do you want to say about that?
No, I agree. And the video that you have on the Starting the Young Horse course, that one day 8 session 2, I feel like that particular session distills all of this, because you're constantly, it's when you're in the round pen with Karma and you're above her, so you've spent time enough to work through most of her above her head issues, but you're constantly like, there's a constant back and forth of like, who is this? And you this is the language you use. You say, I want to allow familiarity, and then you say, like, 10 seconds later, so that you allow her to reveal herself. And to me, that was like the anti-labeling language. You know, you're not saying, oh, she's a 2-year-old filly, whatever, bred for blah, 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 and she's a mare, so she's a jerk, you know. It's like the anti.
And she's acting out because she's scared. You know, of course she's scared, but why is she scared?
Right.
You know, and those are the golden moments when you can allow for the horse to speak and reveal themselves. If that, I could cry, because it changes everything between you and the horse. If we could do that with people more often, we'd have a better world too. But unfortunately, people, you know, we all have it's just too hard. You know, the horse isn't as trapped or as stuck, and they don't have ego like people do. And they don't have the deep layers of complex triggers and defenses like people. But when you allow in those moments where it could be, and I'm hoping to show the video, total chaos between, you know, she could be, if I pushed and didn't allow, I'd be fighting, you know, and I would be supporting her reason to be scared. And the only way to fix it in that moment of forcing is to make her submit. And that's what most training does. And they are not even, most people aren't even conscious that you're doing it. I could say, and I might upset a few people, I could say, let's say there's 100 people listening to this podcast right now. I could say that at least 95 of you are doing this unconsciously because you've been taught to do this. You've been taught to force, to make it, and you don't even realize that you're fighting and struggling, and you are reinforcing all the negative things, all the negative reasons why your horse is acting the way they are. And sometimes just stepping back, or often, not sometimes, most of the time, how about that? How about all the time? Let's just get down to it, Caroline, all the time. If you can just stop with your agenda, stop with your whatever's motivating you or triggering you, the person, and back the F off and just hold the space and allow the horse to express themselves, no matter how scary it is, as long as it's not too dangerous for either person. It's just like this little wild Mustang rearing up. He reared up again yesterday several times because he was so scared of a male presence around him. And this is the first time in 5 weeks that there's been a male, my nephew. And he's in there taking pictures and film, you know, right in our face, because that's what he's here for right now. And the little guy was trying so hard, you know, stay attached to me for security and reassurance, but he was literally running me over. And I'm like, it's okay, but you've got to back off. We've got to build your confidence. And he's pawing, he's telling me, but I'm really stressed, Caroline, this is really scary for me. And I'm just standing there holding space going, it's okay, Lando, I understand it is, but trust me, I know what I'm doing. And so he's rearing and he's just so scared and frustrated and, you know, being really getting as high as Ben's 6'5", you guys. So, but, you know, that's another example. How often do we get attached? Here's that attachment thing. We get attached to the outcome, the agenda. We get attached to the mental, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like conformity. It's like it's like what you've been taught doesn't mean it's right, but everybody else out there in horse training is telling you a certain way to act. So you get caught up in those patterns and belief systems that really don't work well. Truly, I mean, do not work well for the horse or for you.
Right. I think I haven't seen the video.
Yep, go.
I haven't seen the video with Lando, but presumably the last time a male handled him, he had his hind leg roped and then he got his balls cut off. Probably a terrible experience for him or something like that.
Well, that's one of them. Actually, the owner came by yesterday to tell me that she looked at the video from the kill pen and they were running him around, taking video to show you what a pretty mover he is. Right. This is typical. Right. This happens with breed. This happens with, $50,000, $100,000 1-year-olds, you guys. It always happens. Yeah. And they don't realize, what they do, what kind of stress they put these horses under. So you're correct. All the above. All right, let me finish this real quick. So Rebecca writes, following this discipline, my method that she's learning in all these different courses, we use language in a deliberate manner. And so what I teach you guys is to really pay attention to what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what you are saying and how you speak to your horse, both quietly and verbally. When my now yearling arrived, I called him stubborn. Caroline called me out on it. I'm grateful for that call because it was a wake-up reminder to be free and look with fresh eyes and heart every single time I'm training working, caring, being, developing with my buddies. I've been listening to and watching the 30 days of Susie and the Restarting the Young Challenging Horse, which is, she's been bought by Sabrina and renamed Karma.
With a C.
With a C. That's for you, Rebecca, on purpose.
Yeah.
She named her Karma with a C.
I'm gonna need an explanation for that.
I love it. Just like she said, I named my daughter Peyton, and I remember when I was trying to spell Peyton's name, and I'm like, who the hell names their daughter Peyton? And not names her, but
Yeah.
spells it this way.
P-A-E.
She's trying to be unique.
Yes.
Let her be unique.
Always.
I know you are unique. So Rebecca, oh yeah. It's an inside joke. Sorry, guys.
Hormones.
Okay, we have too much fun here. I know. So Rebecca writes, I've been listening to and watching the 30 days of Susie, now Karma, her training, day 8. We're going to look at it, you guys, part 1 and part 2, and then the 9th day, part 1. I'm watching, she's also watching the Wild Mustang, the Lando episodes, and comparing the way Caroline uses a bunch of different techniques that are all the same techniques that she uses throughout her courses, but they all have a different feel and all require talking in a new and fresh, all require talking in new and fresh information as it happens. And that requires releasing expectations and eliminating labels. Is there anything you, as I'm speaking, you want to add?
No, I think that's spot on. That session is a really good one. It's
Okay, we'll look at it.
Times, yeah.
So thank you guys. And maybe, I don't know how many of you out there have had experience with working the way I'm teaching, this, you know, with the power of your mind and your intention. You know, everything in life is a constant. And what I mean by that is pressure is a constant. Pressure is always there, and it comes in multitude of forms for us, for horses. So energy is a constant. Everything is made of energy. And, you know, there's a lot of science to back energy. You know, your mind is an energetic frequency. The way you feel inside is an energetic frequency. And the way I teach is to become attuned, you know, the intuitive side of becoming tuned in and attuned to how you feel and what you think, and then understanding the power of that, and the power of it, the way it affects and influences others, our horses, and also the power in the way that you can connect and communicate in such, you know, subtle and magical ways with your horses, with all animals. And so it's really, what's a better word, powerful. But if you're not aware of how your thoughts and your feelings can easily affect a horse, then you're not being obviously aware of how, when you come into the presence of your horse, if you are thinking and feeling a certain way, your horse can easily pick up on this. And that's just how they're hardwired. It's instinctive in them. It's not just because, you know, it's part of that sixth sense. It's just horses are so attuned to their surroundings. They're one of the most, you know, sensory and aware, intelligent species. And the way they process their senses through their nervous system is just off the chain. Makes them one of the strongest prey animals. I mean, they've lasted the longest, right? So they're pretty damn intelligent when it comes to sensory aware and sensory processing. And so we're constantly electrocuting them, as I put it, without even realizing it. And, you know, depending on the nature of your horse, it can roll off their back like water on a duck, because they might be more laid back and more confident. Or if they're a really more sensitive, just like people, then it's really going to affect them and they're going to start reacting. And then there's also sometimes the horses that are greatly affected because they have more passive personalities, not dominant. Then they're just going to shut down and go deep within themselves because they don't know how to handle all of this. And predominantly that's what we see, period, because horses are by far passive as a species. They are a passive species. They want to get along. They want to get along. That's what makes them marvelous partners. They want to work with you. They want to get along with you. That's why relationships are so freaking important. That's why bonding is important, and wild herds stay together for life predominantly. So when you look at that big picture, it's like, woo, man, I have no idea. I'm really not aware, or now I'm aware because I've been reading about it, or Caroline's been talking about it, but you'll forget because you'll fall right back into the old comfort, the old pattern, the old behavior of being linear because we're predatory. That's how we're hardwired. We're linear. We don't think outside the box very easily. We don't think non-linearly. We're very focused. And we also, because of our egos, we get very trapped and very egocentric and very self-absorbed. Now add triggers and, layers of dysfunction that have happened throughout our life. And it makes it really difficult for us to be present and aware of what we bring into the space of being and working with our horses. And the labeling, there's that whole language, the labeling. It's so easy to label. So yeah, they're running the water. I apologize for that, the pressure. So Rebecca writes, those lessons that she's been getting from all of these courses are all about, learning your horse's nature and developing trust in building confidence, definitely, as a learner, and confidence in the partnership that you're creating. Rebecca says, which is why using labels as a fallback is so damaging. I think it is for all of us, and we have to really pay attention to when it's happening and why is it happening. At worst, it's damaging. At best, it prevents us from seeing the situation or knowing our horse's true nature. And it prevents growth. This is where the Susie video fits. So Rebecca writes, thoroughbreds are deemed hot, but they have a lot of try. Arabians are spirited, Appaloosas are stubborn, Morgans love a job. Altekis are aggressive, stallions are wild, one horse is lazy, one is spooky, one is reactive, etc., etc. What happens is that the label becomes the expectation, and the way we lose the information gathering ability. Oh, and then we lose the information gathering ability. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in humans and in horses. It stifles creativity and squashes the possibility for the magic. And it squashes, as you said, Rebecca, the possibility for each one of us to reveal our true selves, how we really feel, not just our authentic selves, you guys, but for horses, it squashes the ability to allow them to express themselves and reveal how they feel about a situation. So for all of you out there that get really intimidated, which is totally understandable when your horse freaks out or does something that you have no experience with, and you don't have the skill sets to even understand why, or skill sets to do something to change it. The first thing I would tell you guys, recommend, is that you just stop what you're doing and just listen. And if you're really scared, you're going to have to figure out how to calm yourself down, or definitely be safe in that situation, because horses can do lots of really scary, unpredictable things when they are defensive, period. Okay. And so you've got to know that when you're around horses, it's going to happen. And when you are developing horses and changing a horse's behavior, and so that, modifying it and helping them adapt to a new, mindset themselves and a new behavior, shit's going to hit the fan. Okay. Change is hard for everyone. It's very uncomfortable. It's really scary for horses and humans. And so you have to, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a newbie or you're a novice at this, retraining or developing, you've got to be prepared for the unexpected and sometimes for things to get worse before they get better. And the best way is that's a mindset right there, shift. Don't label. And the second is just stop. When stuff gets really tough and you don't know what to do, don't keep pushing. Why do you keep pushing? Partly because it's a predatory nature. Okay, we're so linear. I got to get it done. I got to make it look good. Or it's what you've been learning from someone else. And I get that often because my way is so different. On the surface, it can look very similar to some things, but it is, once we dive in deep, it is way different. We're talking about it right now. So, and the one thing I want to talk about too is, and we're going to talk about this, is profiling and labeling. Because Rebecca, when you were talking in that paragraph there about labeling, some of it was healthy and healthy profiling. So thoroughbreds and Arabians are hot. And not all horses. So I'm not gonna, so that would be profiling. Mm-hmm. When you say thoroughbreds are hot, but they have a lot of the try is a label. And you're not going to know any different because you guys just don't have the experience. So just be open about this. Don't feel defeated and frustrated. Oh my God, I'm never going to learn. You're learning through me vicariously. Okay. So, not all horses have a lot of thoroughbreds, meeting my thoroughbreds specifically, Rebecca, yes, they do, but that's because of their bloodlines and not Blue so much. Just wait. But Billy, Joey, and Lovey have a hell of a lot of because of the bloodlines and also because they were, Lovey wasn't raced, but the other two, she went into training though. So it's also the behavior and a mindset that they create in these horses. They take advantage of those specific bloodlines. Blue is, both of Blue's parents race, or his mother raced. So Blue comes from excellent thoroughbred racing bloodlines. I wouldn't say Blue has a lot of I think Blue's wicked smart and wicked bonded to me. And that's what I wanted. And so through that bond, which is what I teach you guys, just through the relationship, he's going like Sundance, who has, and Zor has the least amount of but Sundance doesn't have any but because of the bond, and honestly, and love's a whole nother podcast we can talk about. Through that bond, it's there. That's what motivates them. And then when your horse is lazier than average, you got to use a little bit more motivation. And it's not about food at all, you guys. It's really, you got to go about it a little differently so that that horse enjoys working with you, or you'll kill it. And then you make your horse become this, that, and the other. Arabians are spirited. I could say thoroughbreds are spirited. I could say that Appaloosa is spirited. I would say Smokey was spirited as a paint horse. Morgans love a job. I haven't met a Morgan that loved a job. What does that mean? I mean, how does that show up? You know what I mean? So Altekis are aggressive. I've worked with Altekis. I've never met an aggressive Alteki. I don't know where you got that, but maybe you just pulled it from something. Yes, hold on, Rebecca, real quick. Before the question, Rebecca, where did you get some of that? Thoroughbreds are hot, Altekis are aggressive. Did you hear it? Did you take it from somewhere?
Yeah, these are just things that I've heard or read in various places, based on the history, and people try to match you. Like someone always wants to match you with the right horse. And I'm just saying, like, you can have a thoroughbred be a trail horse. It's part of the, thinking outside the box with a different mentality. maybe a thoroughbred will be an excellent trail
Mhm.
horse because of that horse's characteristics.
Yep.
So
Yes, absolutely. Um, it also comes down to heart.
mm,
When an animal, a horse especially, has a lot of heart, a lot of love, and a really strong relationship, they'll do anything for you. For me, and all of you that believe in what we're talking about and participating in this podcast, it's really hard for me, and I know a lot of you feel the same way, because the majority of the equestrian world does not think this way at all. And I'm often harshly reminded of that when I venture outside the little world that I've created here at my farm and the little world that I create with all of you guys that want to be a part of my little world. It's when I get a new client that comes from the other world, it's really, it's like, oh, bam, smack back into reality of what, we're all up against. There's a very small, we are a small segment, and I know that there's more and more spiritually inclined methods, for the lack of a better word, when it comes to developing, I love that word, horses. I don't like using the word training anymore. It's so mechanical. But even the verbiage, that other gentler horse training methods use, they're still stuck in a lot of the mechanics. And be careful of being too cognitive with this stuff and following people that talk the talk but don't walk the walk. Because I do believe there is a big shift going on. It's going to take a while, but there is a big shift. I've been doing this long enough, and I was definitely one of the leaders 15 to 20 years ago talking about the same things. But now you hear more and more, professionals out there talking similarly. There's many layers to all of this, especially when it comes to becoming more aware and consciousness, and being present. It's not something that you can cognitively think about and become. It doesn't work that way. You can't just cognitively think about all these changes, and because you're cerebrally wrapped around it, there's our ego that automatically you're going to change. Actions speak louder than words. You've got to fully embrace these changes and embody them and live them and practice them every day. I get to do this every day, day in and day out, year in and year out. And, it takes time. And we're not all conditioned when we are little to be open like this. So it is hard. Yeah, and then Rebecca ends her talking point with how kids will walk under a horse without fear, as they have no expectation of fear. And just because of that, the horse takes care of them, don't they? They really take care of them. Wow, that speaks volumes to what, again, we bring to the table with the horse. The anxiety, the nervousness, the thinking, not being present. And it's hard. We're so hardwired to be completely different, horses and humans. And the ego corrupts us completely. And the dark side of our egos corrupt us completely. I have always revered that as hell on earth. Like isn't that similar to the Bible when Adam and Eve, they take the bite of the apple and they lose their innocence forever. And there's no turning back. And I'm not I went to Bible school and all that and was brought up Catholic, and I don't practice Catholicism. I'm a Christian, but I don't practice it at all. And I think, Rebecca, you were brought up Catholic too. But it's so I don't remember the story exactly. I think I blocked it out because it was shoved down my throat so much. Oh Lord. But you guys get my gist there. It was ego with Adam and Eve that changed everything, supposedly, if you believe the Bible. But yeah, pretty interesting, isn't it? So what's our question real quick?
Nadine asks, can a horse that I visit actually bond with me? Is that enough?
Nadine, yes, we often talk about what it's like when you can only spend 1 or 2 days a week with a horse. Can you still create a bond? Absolutely, but you have to know how. Just showing up once or twice a week, and if your horse isn't present, believe it or not, a lot of our domesticated horses have a hard time being present because they are in their sympathetic nervous system, their self-preservation. They're triggered. So there's a lot to learn about how to strategize and set up the time with your horse when you only have once or twice a week to be with them. What do you do that can create, nurture, and maintain that bond? So yes, you absolutely can, but it's you have to know what to do. Like I said, you could show up and if the horse isn't present and is buddy sour and anxious and worried about everybody else, you don't even exist. So there's no bonding that's going to take place. So good question, and unfortunately a little more complicated. Rebecca, is there anything you want to add before I keep continuing?
Just that when you were talking about kind of our egos, that it occurs to me that a lot of times what happens, and it's connected to labeling, is that we, instead of backing off, we up the ante. So, we say, oh, you're a slow learner, you're stupid, and we put somebody there, and then they become a stupid, slow learner. And it's really about us going to our worst selves and upping the ante to satisfy our own needs, instead of saying, oh, maybe there's more to this story. Maybe, you just got a concussion last night. And same thing with the horses. Maybe they've got, tooth pain, and that's why they're refusing the bit over and over, not because they're a jerk, so that struck me as ego. Yep. Problem.
Yep. Anytime we force a situation, it's ego. Most of the time. And then there's 3 ways of looking at when we force a situation. Question, is it ego? Is it trigger? Or is it a learned behavior? And in most of my podcast and so much of what I do, of course, my phone is full, so it stopped recording. So much of what I do, can you tell Ben real quick? Just go get him. So much of what I talk about, you guys, in our podcasts and in our private webinars with the Mastery membership is learned behaviors and identifying. And I do this work so much with the horses. I have to know when I assess a horse and I get to know a horse and I'm developing horse, I have to figure out where's their nurture, their true personality, and what have they learned? Where's their nurture? I have to. And so often they're so fucked up and messed up that it could take months for me to just build enough trust, like this little Mustang. I mean, we've come so far so fast, but we're in the 2nd month now, and he's not ready for a farrier. And I knew that he'd have some triggers with males just because of where he's come from. But now having my nephew here, now I have an opportunity. This is great. Now I have an opportunity to help him work through that, the horse. I think that's 3 really good points for all of us. When we feel like we need to fight and make something happen, whether it's with people or our horses, you need to stop and pause and ask yourself, wow, is this my ego? Because I need to prove a point. I need to make it happen. I need it to look as good as so-and-so. Is this a trigger? Where is it coming from? Or is this just a learned behavior? So often, most of it is a learned behavior. Our ego is always there, but it's like it's personified or magnified, our ego, by learned behavior, and then of course triggers. Things just get worse.
But there's a good ego too. I mean, it's what you call it.
Eckhart Tolle writes a lot about ego, and I have quite a few books of his. I would say no, that, ego, for me, that's why I do what I do and why I teach the way I teach with horses.
So would you call that confident then? You're just confident when you
Yep.
own your shit?
When you have presence and, yes, confidence, you can be cocky. Cocky is different than arrogant. You can be opinionated. I'm very opinionated, but I'm not judgmental. And Rebecca, you know that. I'm very opinionated, but it's based on my personal experiences and time-tested patterns. So when I'm really sound opinionated about something, it's because it's worked or it hasn't worked. I've tested it, and not just once or twice. But I feel really strongly. But I'm not judgmental. I'm not blinded. Our ego, yes, we cannot escape our ego. And to me, it is the downfall of humanity, and why I love working with horses, because they have no ego, but I will often say legends got an ego. Some horses act more proud than others. Some horses want to show off. Some horses, when you look at that, you look at profiling, the horse that shows up this way all the time. That's looking for patterns, diagnosing patterns in behavior. It's called profiling. And profiling is excellent. And again, if you guys, we want to work with horses and people want to learn to read and understand their horse, we're going to talk a little bit about profiling. No ego is a curse. And if you believe in the Bible, then that's, you know where it generates from and how it started. We lost all of our innocence, and I almost say free will. Our will is guided by ego. Look at all the choices we make in life. What motivates most of our choices? Are they self-motivated, or are they motivated for truly the good of someone else or something else? And even when we do good for someone else, do we need to be heard? Do we need to be seen? Do we need to be recognized for doing good? And this shit gets deep.
It does.
As I always say, horses are our road to humanity, and a place that we can only hope to ever feel or ever be in. I often imagine what it's like to be in their mind and in their eyes. And every day I could cry talking about this. As I get older and I do get wiser, I get wiser because I make mistakes, which are learning opportunities. I'm not afraid to do that. But in my wisdom and trying not to cry about it, I honor the horse so much that my pausing happens so often, because I honor them so much, because I respect them so much, because I'm like, what are you thinking right now? How are you perceiving me? How are you perceiving me? What's it feel like to be in my space? How is this working or not working for you? And when I am in that space, that mind space, everything works beautifully. You guys, everything works beautifully. And Rebecca will get to the video, because the video that you want me to show is a great example of it working beautifully for the horse. It's all about the horse. We'll get there. Her learning will get there. Her confidence will get there. And the more you build the horses thinking side of their brain, the parasympathetic nervous system is more developed and stronger than the sympathetic. The more you keep building and building the relationship, horses are so intelligent and so safe. It would blow your mind. All right, before Rebecca, you have anything to add before I read a little bit more?
No, I think you're going to talk about, because especially in this video, there is a point at which it's just poor behavior. And that's where the developing of the horse comes in. And that is what you do exquisitely in that particular session. I think you're about to get to that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read a little bit about labeling and profiling, so we have a stronger comparison in understanding. So what is labeling a person? And again, this could be your horse. What is labeling a person? Labeling or using a label is describing someone or something in a word or short phrase. For example, describing someone who has broken a law as a criminal. Labeling theory is a theory in sociology which ascribes labeling of people to control and identify deviant behavior. So I think we could all look at politics today across the board, doesn't matter what political affiliation you have. Politics in general uses this deep psychology to control the way we think. You can call it propaganda, you can call it brainwashing. It's been going on forever. It's not just today. It's been going on forever. That is the frightening level of manipulation that politics plays. And that's how corrupt it is, period, you guys. Now, I'm a marketing person. I understand the manipulation of marketing and advertising. And yeah, it's out there in every form because we are a consumer. And we also, yeah, we're a consumer and we're easily manipulated. So that's labeling. There's a little bit more. So that's basic though. That's basic labeling. And how it started was to control the masses. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Now we're gonna talk about profiling. What is a personality profile? Personality profiling has been in common use for over 60 years. In this article, I'd have to get the article, but in this article, we will describe what it is, what it isn't, and how you can use it in your business or your life. And they talk a lot about coaching. It's very important when you're a coach to be able to profile your clients so that you can better understand them. Sometimes referred to as psychometric testing or psychological profiling. It is a means of measuring an individual's personality in a particular situation. Your horse is a great example. So we'll take that video that we're going to be looking at. I'm profiling Susie in that particular situation. I'm taking time to step back and see how she reacts or responds to what I'm trying to teach her. In that moment, it is not a teaching moment because she's on self-defense. Okay, she does not have an open learning frame of mind. And so that's an opportunity though for me to step back and go, wow, interesting information. Here's some more information. So now I kind of know what's setting her off and how she feels about X, Y, and Z. So it's a phenomenal tool and skill that we could all use and do better with. So again, it is a means of measuring an individual, horse or human or dog or cat, intelligent species. It is a means of measuring an individual's personality in a particular situation. It is not a measure of intelligence or ability, only behavior. Only behavior. So profiling is also an act or process of extrapolating information about a person based on known traits or tendencies, observed characteristics or behavior. What makes a good profiler? Successful criminal profilers must possess excellent analytical and critical thinking abilities. Now, I brought this in, criminal profiling, but I'm going to say excellent horse trainers must possess excellent analytical and critical thinking abilities. Good communication skills, it means you're clear, you don't confuse your horse. Doesn't mean the horse doesn't get confused, it means you don't confuse the horse. And the ability to effectively analyze scientific and statistical data. Now, granted, this is about criminal profiling, but as a horse trainer, I'm constantly looking at scientific and statistical data. What is statistical data? That's why when I'm getting to know a horse, I'm looking for patterns of behavior. that becomes data. So how to profile people. If you have trouble getting a read on someone, and this is the same for a horse, you might want to try profiling them or analyzing their patterns, their speech patterns, their posture, their body language. So this is part of how I assess horses, their overall appearance. If you have an interest in profiling, try studying the mannerisms of your friends, your family members, and acquaintances to get a better read on their thoughts and intentions. I often say in my work, whether it's my YouTube videos or my online courses or my private work with students, start to learn how to read your horse's thoughts before they commit to the action. And so when you get to be really good at profiling and pausing, then you can read what they're thinking about before they actually commit. My storage is full.
I know. Yeah.
So, sorry guys, and downloading is like, makes me want to throw my phone through the window. I need a new phone, you guys. So we're trying to do all this really new technical stuff. And of course it stopped when I was talking about really deep stuff that I wanted to cry about, you know. Yeah. But anyway, my nephew is thank you. I got to get a new phone. We're using his phone now. My nephew is just a wizard.
So much better.
Thanks, Ben.
The 11 Pro Plus or whatever.
Okay, so I bet you never thought about that, Rebecca, did you, about profiling? It has such a bad connotation. You shouldn't profile. You shouldn't profile. Again, that's called propaganda, and it's in who's telling you not to profile. Okay, and teaching you to skew the real meaning of profiling with labeling. Who's telling us to do that? You'll hear it on the news all the time. How dare you profile, you racist? That has nothing to do with race. It's about behavior. It's about reading people, reading horses. It's behavior. I tell you, stuff can get so messed up. But I bet you never thought about profiling. Any of you, how many of you guys that are listening to this were like, oh my God, I don't want to profile? Good luck then. Good luck figuring out your horse. And I'm not talking about mechanics, because anybody can become a skilled technician and eventually make the horse do what you want. So I bring up the profiling so that you guys can have an aha moment when you're out there with your horse next time and go, wow, I'm getting frustrated. Okay, let me pause, step back, stop being attached or triggered. And what's really going on here? What is my horse doing? Watch them. Now, do the same exercise the next time you're with your horse so that you have an opportunity to get either the same information or new information. Just like today, I'm going to be bringing my nephew back into the round pen with me when I work with the wild Mustang, because wow, I got to see how he still feels about men. Does not surprise me at all. I'm glad that he trusts me so much that it wasn't any worse. But now we're going to set up an opportunity to help him work through that even more. And for me, I'm already there. I don't need any more information. But for you guys, it's another climatic situation that's going to cause a lot of stress for you and the horse. But you got to change your mindset and just go, wow, it's an opportunity to get to know, let my horse reveal themselves and get to know how my horse feels about a situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's really a mindset, isn't it? It's really a paradigm shift. It's a total shift. So what do we do when we raise kids? Think how much we fuck them up. Think how fucked up we all are, because we all are fucked up, you guys. Everybody has trauma. Just most of it's so pushed down and unconscious. Most of us are not consciously aware of how much trauma or triggers we really have. And it's all to protect ourselves from our lovely dynamic, our upbringing. What do we do to kids? Wow. How does this work on children? No, Johnny, Susie, you got to act this way. You can't act any other way. And I'm not saying you can't have boundaries. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm all about boundaries. I'm all about giving structure, because highly intelligent, socially intelligent species like humans and horses need structure. So don't get all skewy with this one. You're not going to have any respect, and your kids and your horses are going to resent you. You need structure. You need to define boundaries, but you also need to be flexible and allow the individual nature of your child or your horse to show themselves.
And they will break your heart.
And they would, Sabrina's like, and they will break your heart.
They will break your heart. Yeah. If you let your child be who they are meant to be, it will break your heart.
So Sabrina says, if you will let your child be who they are meant to be, it will break your heart. Why do you say that?
Because you grow up, you want your daughter to be a certain way. And like you said, we don't let them be who they want to be. So we're like, no, 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 no. In the way I was raised, my mom loved horses. And a lot of times if I wasn't into horses, then it would break her heart. So naturally, I would go back into horses just to make her happy. Well, it was different between me and my daughter.
Yeah.
She wanted to experience other things, and it broke my heart.
Yep.
Because I love horses. Of course.
And you want to share that with her.
Yeah, she came back to it later on a little bit, but it will
And she's
break her heart.
gonna do it again, because she's gonna go to
She will
college,
do it again,
and she's gonna move
absolutely.
away.
She has broken my heart a lot, but she's always made me proud too.
So let's look at your choice of words though. So yes, she has broken your heart, but that's your problem.
Well, of course it is.
Your
Oh, I'm not
kids,
saying it's not.
your kid's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
They are
Yeah.
such amazing
Yes.
parents, you guys. Their kids are amazing.
I know why she broke my heart.
I know. And that, but I'm Sabrina and I can talk like this, you guys.
absolutely.
We talk about it all the time. We talk like this. We're so much alike. We're straight shooters. And so I totally get where Sabrina's coming from. How many of us can, especially raising kids, that they'll break your heart. But you guys understand where she's coming from. Yeah.
Atilia said, agree.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Absolutely. And I, since you've been with me,
Mhm.
you've allowed her,
Yes,
to
I didn't follow the same footsteps.
no, it was a lot different when you first started with me.
Yes.
And your kids you had a much different relationship with them.
Yes.
And honestly, if you hadn't grown,
Mhm.
you'd be up Schitt's Creek with your kids. They'd
Oh.
be so rebellious
Yeah.
because you would have been so controlling. And they're so much like you and Donnie. They're strong. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of drive.
Mhm.
There's a lot. There's a lot of things.
I don't even want to think about.
Yep.
what happened with Peyton.
It's beautiful. You're just, you guys are amazing. Okay, let's try and jump in. Let's jump into the video. Anybody have anything to say? Rebecca, before I screen share the video?
Well, I think what you're talking about takes a lot of self-confidence or security in your own self to allow the freedoms for other people. And it's the same thing when you're developing the horse. It's like you have to be, it's the same thing with a kid or the horse, You have to be good with who you are. It's really insecurities
point.
that make you, be a jerk.
Sure. Yeah, so yes, but I'm also going to say Sabrina has plenty of insecurities with her kids. So it's different. You're right. And it's not always that way though.
It's
I think there's so many things to think about: following your gut, following your intuition, letting enough time to where what resonates, what's the truth of the situation. Am I coming down on my kid hard because it's what I want them to have? Or, I'm backing off and letting them find what they need, even though it's scaring the hell out of me. There's a level of vulnerability in Sabrina that takes huge courage. Being vulnerable takes courage, no matter what vulnerable situation you're in. And it takes loving your kid. And also, there's a combination of many things. Sabrina also doesn't want to be the mother No offense, mama out there, but she wants to be a better mother to her daughter than her mother was for her. So there, you know, it's complex. We bring in so many spices to the mix, you know, each one of us.
And you can put that to horses.
Yes,
Because
we are.
make our horses do what they really don't want to
Well,
do.
our horses, yes, we make them do so much of what they really don't. And what you're afraid of is that the horse isn't going to want to do anything. And what I'm trying to tell you is, you know, follow what I'm teaching, and the horse is going to want to do everything for you. And you'll have more than one fighting to show up. And so you've just got to trust that process and let go of your own agenda, your own, like Rebecca's saying, insecurities, your own, you know, safe haven of labeling and being comfortable with that, because it keeps you fixed in a box. You don't have to change. You don't have to grow. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more going on for all of us that makes or breaks a situation. All right. Yep, good point, but there's a lot of other really good points too. Yeah, I mean, I'll give an example real quick, just talking about family dynamic on my end with my stepson. So he's a gifted child, you know, he's, and there's no answer. This is the coolest thing, is I have no answer for any of this, what I'm going through, what we're going through as parents, his mom, me, and his dad. And there's my nephew. I don't need an answer. How about that, folks? But it doesn't mean I'm going to abandon structure or guidance, or letting my stepson, who I hate calling him my stepson because he feels like a son, you know, our bond, know how disappointed I am in him either. So he's this gifted kid, and he's a week here with me and then a week at home with his mom. When he's at home with his mom goes to work and her boyfriend works from home, but Mason's on his own. So here is this 12-year-old, and he's best friends with Sabrina's 12-year-old. So it's really cool too. But Sabrina's son's being homeschooled. So he spends half the amount of time. He's also with homeschooling. Does he have one teacher for all his classes, Sabrina? Or does he have,
No,
he has different teachers, but he's only in school from what, 8:30 to 12:30?
Yeah, sometimes a little longer, but.
Yep. And here's Mason, like all the other kids that are forced to stay at home today, virtual school, not homeschooled. Mason is on Zoom from 8:30 to like 3 o'clock with like a 40-minute lunch break. And yeah, it's horrible. So when he's here with me, and we're all on the same page, mom, dad, and I get along beautiful. We're holidays together, everything. We're all on the same page, which is really good for Mason, right? But he's got little rebellion over here. Like mom and dad want him to go to college, you know, God forbid he doesn't go to college, or dad wants to throw him in a Ivy League, like prep school, you know, for high school. And here I am like, no, Mason wants to be homeschooled. He's wanted to be homeschooled for 2 years now, even before COVID. And then I'm the type that goes, damn, I should have never paid my way through college. I'm not even doing what I went to college for. You know, I'm self-taught. I'm like, screw this, self-taught in business, self-taught with the horses. I'm like, college, as long as you have a passion, a trade, definitely, you know, but college isn't for everybody. So he's getting that from me, but I was an excellent student, not a good learner. Remember that. I didn't do well in school, but I loved school and I was disciplined. You didn't have to tell me to do anything. So things have changed today. So Mason's basically failing most of his classes is where I'm headed. We went through this last fall. We got through it. He got all A's ending the school year. And then this year he started out great. And now he's just gone down the rabbit hole. And so he's here in the office when he's here in the guest house where the podcast is for his school when he's here. And I'm in the office right across the aisle. So I pop in frequently to check in on him, and he pops in frequently to check in on me, which I will say, Mason, what are you doing? Don't you have school? Mason, did you finish your assignment? So he's been lying. And it's really upset his parents and I. And so we had a Zoom meeting, the four of us. It was me, Mason, and Kurt and Mama on Saturday. And nobody lost their cool. You know, it's not the way, I'm really impressed with Papa. It's not the way we chose collectively to handle it. We chose to talk about it, but, you know, also I was the one with the scariest consequences. You're going to fail and have to repeat this year. And that's the truth. And so there's some things that we can all do better at as parents. But one of the things I brought up that I've been observing as a profiler, and this is really going to help us as a family with Mason, is how much of what Mason's doing is to get attention. So when I ask Mason, what, you know, why do you hate school so much? Why just breeze right through it? I know, yada, 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 you know, you hear me talk, I know. And the first thing out of his mouth was, well, I miss family. I just want to be with family all the time. And he loves bebopping and hearing our webinars and podcasts and all that stuff. But it was interesting, again, to listen to him and to get him to speak his truth. He would have never said that if he knew that we were going to come down on him, or we came down on him all the time. And, you know, we were like so controlling about his structure. You know, giving kids a little more freedom, even if it turns out like this, also teaches them to communicate. Like, I always want him to know that he has power, that his voice matters, his feelings matter, and his voice matters. And so taking that knowledge of, yeah, I miss family, and I know he misses his mom. By the time she comes home, it's 7 o'clock sometimes, after the grocery store, 8 o'clock. You know, and then he's a week with us and a week with mom, and it's you know, that's tough, right? And even though he's here, he's coming to visit me, he wants to be a part of everything, and I get all that. And then Pop, even though he's a week here with us, Kurt's got to go back down to Tampa. Kurt works an hour and a half away. Sometimes he works at home a couple of days. So you got to take all this into consideration. And granted, Mason didn't have to tell him. It was different. So let me back up. So we had our hour conversation, family, you know, yada, yada, yada. And then, you know, Mason knew what he needed to do to catch up, and mom's going to be working with them till 10 o'clock every night this week. But I could see a smile on his face. And he took things seriously during our Zoom conference. But nobody had to ask him from that Saturday. I mean, he worked all weekend. I mean, he stopped when you came, Ben, but he worked pretty much all weekend, and he was up at 7 a.m. on Sunday.
Working all day.
Yep. Yep. I mean, just the motivation and the smile, just the whole energy shifted because we listened. You know, we got a little bit more information. We were still like, you got to do this. And I purposely wanted to scare him by saying, you're going to repeat. It's the truth. You're going to repeat this year. He has to come up with everything this week, you guys, before spring break. I mean, it's pretty serious. And they'll get it done. He and his mom will get it done because he's with his mom this week. But, you know, I just using that as an example. And yeah, it's, you know, both his parents want him to go to college, and I'm like, let him, but he, you know, let him figure it out. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you back off. Kids still need structure. They still need mentorship. They still need a guide. You just don't jam it down their frickin' throats though. And what you want isn't always what your kid wants, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, mama. Yes. Yeah, but Sabrina, your stuff goes deep too, because it's your relationship with your daughter is what you've created, what you never had with your mother.
That's correct. Yes. And I wish to have that relationship with
my mom. I know.
Absolutely.
But that's why I love you so much. I tell you this all the time. Why I honor you and admire you is because no matter how much it hurts, you do what's right for your girl. Instead of having that just totally take over your entire mindset, like it does for so many of us. We get so caught up in our own ego and our own hurt and our own stuff that we can't see the truth of anything else, including our horsemanship. All right, let me screen share, but first I've got to start this. Okay, let me get the video going. I know you marked all these minutes, so I'm going to get to, it's a 40-minute video. We're running out of time. So I'm going to get to 11, and hopefully our internet will be, I'll just start here. Okay, let me go ahead and screen share.
And that's why we traditionally mount the left. That's a history of.
Okay, sorry, it's loading. All right, you guys should get that. You see it, Sabrina?
That.
Yes, I see.
Okay.
On the fence.
Okay. So this is day 8. So basically we work with karma 20 or 30 days. It's a 30, she's paid for 30 days, but I only work 20. So that's like a Monday.
Exactly.
It's 4 weeks a month. So do the math, you guys. Sometimes a little longer, sometimes a day off, a longer weekend, whatever the horse needs. And so this is her 9th day of training, so to speak. And I'm, doing all the things I would normally do with a young horse to get them confident as a learner. And so every horse goes through what this young horse is going through. And when I first made this course, it was starting the young horse course. And then I realized it's really restarting the challenging young horse, because 2 out of the 3 horses in this course are messed up just by 1 or 2 wrong situations. It's not like they've had training. They've just, some things have just been done wrongly, and it's created some really bad behaviors, and 2 out of the 3 horses are really unconfident. All right, so Rebecca, at any time, I'm gonna turn my volume down on the screen share. Hopefully you guys can hear it. But if you have something, speak up and I'll stop it.
Not at all. She's not. And now she's showing the last couple.
Here, let me play that. Not at all what? Okay, hold on.
With me, the more she reveals.
All right, let me back up. Sorry, guys.
So if I see that potential in her, I've got a couple of different strategies. And one would include a saddle. So I can ride some stuff out in her. But if I go to get on her and she pins her ears, I'm gonna get off so fast, it'll make your head spin.
All right, let's just start over. Okay.
They're the ones that pull me off of here. Hi, sweet pea.
So one thing that's hardly ever taught in starting young horses, and this is a positive that I'm gonna take from your Western cowboys, Buck Brannaman, Mark Rashid, a lot of the great guys out there that have been doing this their whole life. Chris Cox, because I remember seeing this 20 years ago, following a lot of these guys in the horse expos before I got back into horses, is when you start a horse, you always include starting above their head and in their blind spots. And a lot of our horse trainers today, I don't care, even some of these really successful ones, they just throw themselves on and manhandle the horse. And so you're not preparing the horse properly. And so whether you're ponying the horse and you're working above them on a horse, or I prefer to do it on a round pen panel, and just getting her really familiar with with pressure and noises and things in her blind area. Because when you ride people, you're sitting in your horse's blind spot. Does anybody realize that? When you get on, the horse cannot see your leg. They cannot see you unless they turn their head. They can feel you. But if you steal a ride, is what I call it. Oh, I'm going to put the saddle on and just let the horse buck and get used to the saddle. I hate that. I don't agree with it. Then I'm going to put my foot in and just turn the horse and get on and ride the buck out of them. So that's why I'm playing this from the beginning, because I've said some things that might lead you to believe that that's what I do, and it's not. but I'm trying to prepare her, and she's pinning her ears. She's very defensive. She's a very defensive horse, period. And so was the other horse in this course, and they both came from the same breeder who started, you know, who imprinted them. Isn't that interesting? And now one belongs to Sabrina and one belongs to me. So it's pretty messed up in the scheme of things, how messed up they got.
Yeah. Yeah, me being up here is a good thing. Yep, everything's good. Beautiful, guys. Remember, I'm in a blind spot. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
So what do I want her, like every horse, to feel is me. I want her to feel my energy. So we've done already, you know, 9 days of always working with energy and always trying to get her to connect and feel the energy. And often horses that are defensive, obviously, like people, they can't connect to that. They're trapped and they're triggered. So you've got to help her work through some of that until she can come back to the good endorphin release and connect with the calm energy. And she's starting to here.
This is the way I teach. I ain't getting on no horse until you give me permission to get on. And this, we're not there yet. Anybody can steal a ride and put their foot in a stirrup and saddle a horse up and pretty much stay on, especially a pro like myself. Anybody can steal a ride. Does your horse give you that ride, though? And everything I've been working on with her is going to feel and be the same when I get on her. She's going to feel me even more because we're going to touch. I'll be sitting on her. That's the power of my work. And that's why I don't have accidents, riding accidents. That's why my horses protect me and take care of me. And I'm smart enough, and I teach you guys to be aware of when shit could hit the fan. Time to get off. Time to get off and help your horse. Because I ride with bareback pad. I can only stay on so long if something hits the fan. And I don't mean my horses would ever bolt or buck, but they might spook. My balance is pretty good. And if something really makes them fearful, they might run away, not buck, but run. And I don't want that. I don't even.
You know, it goes beyond that too. Like yesterday, Rebecca, you can appreciate this. Janine and I rode off the property the first time in 2 years. And so I rode Lovey the first time in 2 years. And this might be the 4th time Lovey's been off the property here at the new place. And they started out fine. And then they both got tenser, as obviously, and I could hear a couple of calls from the herd, the baby especially. And as soon as we turned to come back, the whole old trigger in Lovey came out, the old training on the track and the tension and the flip in the head. And it wasn't that could I ride that and handle that, you know, and I'm in a bareback pad and a rope halter. It wasn't about any of that. It was what's best for my horse. And I don't enjoy that either. And the tension in her body is going to come through my body and create a hell of a lot of tension, which is going to hurt and manifest. I'm going to have to, it's a whole big conundrum, you guys. But the big point I want to make is what's in the best interest of my horse. So we both got off and hand walked them, you know, a mile or 2 down the road back to the farm. But we're going to continue to do that until the horses get more comfortable and familiar. And there was one good spook halfway down. And it was Lovey because it was windy out and she hates the rustling of the dry palmettos. It sounds like a bag. She hates that noise. She's better. And so, you know, we were letting them graze, enjoy as we were walking down the side of the road. It's really a nice little quiet country road with a lot of grass opportunities, spring grass coming up. So your rein is long, right? And one of the safety tricks is you've got a long rein, but if you pull it up and the horse gets tight and spooks, it's going to throw you off your balance pretty much because your hand is coming back here to pull and you can't pull any farther, and the horse is going another direction. So it's not a good ideal situation. So the safety trick is pull the rein up and slide the other hand down immediately and grab and shorten that rein with the other hand. Most people that panic, you don't remember that. You don't think about it. You don't remember it. But when I teach you this in the programs and the riding courses so that it becomes second nature. So Lovey spooked and jumped, dropped a shoulder and jumped. I'm bareback, long ass rein, spooked, dropped, typical spook, jump, drop, whatever she did. Yeah, man, I never lost my seat, okay, people? So I'm not bragging, it's just the truth. But also my second nature, being so experienced with this, I realized, shit, man, you're at the end of your rope, slide the hand down and shut that horse down. Now, Janine forgot, but she had a saddle on. So Callan spooked less, but still threw Janine left while he went right. And if she hadn't been holding on to that saddle, she would have had another accident because her hand, I saw all I cared about was Janine. So Lovey went, dropped the shoulder, jumped. I went with, grabbed while I'm looking at Janine, I'm grabbing the rein and I'm going, are you okay? Shorten up your rein, because her hand's way over here. Her body's the opposite direction. And the hand that should have been grabbing the rein grabbed the saddle horn, which, yes, it did save her. But you guys think a saddle, if she hadn't grabbed that horn, she would have been off the horse. I mean, you gotta have your balance point all the time. And you gotta learn how to zig when that horse zigs and zag when that horse zags. The tighter you are, the worse it's gonna be. It's kind of like being that drunk or that baby in that car accident. Both usually are unharmed because they are so relaxed, right? There's a truth to that. So let's see if we can speed up here.
As long as I need to match it. Don't make it personal. So if I get big with her, it ain't gonna be pretty, but it ain't gonna be ugly. And she's not gonna be scared of me, trust me.
So what I mean by personal is, I know this video obviously very well. I mean, I made it, I remember it, is she can get very defensive. And I will allow that, right? I'll allow her to express herself, but not to a point where she feels she's got to hurt me, because nothing I'm doing is going to hurt her. So that's where it's that defining moment. It's a big trigger in her, even though she's never been ridden. It's just her way of saying this is the way Susie expresses herself when she's uncomfortable with anything. Okay. It has nothing to do with being ridden. No one's been on her until me right now. So it's just her way of saying, I don't like it. And the previous owner didn't know what to do with that. So I asked her many questions. I don't know what she did, but it got a lot worse for this horse. It's one thing to just pin your ears and say, okay, I'm uncomfortable with this. And then we can have a conversation. Susie had a habit of it escalating. And that's a learned behavior. So somebody did something to create that.
That's not the way I work. But she's not going to do it again.
God, she's so sweet. Such a pretty girl. She's your baby now.
And like I said, some of that little bit of ear pinning's defensiveness. Now, why would I give her the benefit of the doubt? Because she's been showing those behaviors. The more comfortable she gets with me, the more she reveals. And the more I get to see her dislikes and how much she doesn't like something. And that's okay. That's information for me. It's feedback. But then through experience, I can say, okay, that's enough. I respect you. And I also know that you're doing that because you're not sure.
And that's that defining moment when you profile enough and you get enough information with patterns and behaviors that you go, okay, enough's enough. You've got to try. So like, I'll listen. I might listen for days. I might listen for weeks, depending on how much, but then I'm going to say, okay, you've had enough time to trust me and get to know me. And I've allowed you to speak, and now I'm going to make that boundary. Now I'm going to make that boundary. And every time I do, it's done and we move on. You know, and Sabrina's filming so much. She knows it's the same thing with the Mustang. Now it's time. You've got to try and learn how to work with me. And it's really beautiful when your horse can trust you on that level to know that this is where safety starts to really build between the two of you. It's like, you know, Lovey, there's a point where Lovey will definitely take care of me, but in yesterday's trail ride, it was me really paying attention to Lovey's body physically getting tighter and escalating. It wasn't Lovey telling me like, I hit a threshold, Mom, and I need you to get the hell off of me. Right now, this baby is getting that relationship in this video, you know, in this course with me to say, hey, this person's really listening to me and allowing me, and we can have a conversation about it. That's where the safety happens. Lovey's triggers are so strong from her previous training to be a racehorse that, yeah, it's going to take a little bit more time. We have to be in those types of situations to really push and work on, because she's way too comfortable, you know, with everything else that we do here. If that makes sense. I know some of this stuff doesn't make a lot of sense, you guys, because nobody talks about it like this, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay.
Now, had she been she was 6 months old when she backed into you and went to haul
Oh,
ass
yes, your
and kick
owner's
you?
there.
That's normal, and I hate to say it, but that should not happen. It's normal, but if you come into their space and earlier on and claim space more and know how to handle that, it wouldn't happen. It would never happen to me. But it's normal, and it doesn't.
That's what Mama Horse does. Mama Horse is all about teaching acceptable behavior and not non-acceptable behavior and what's not accepted. And Mama Horse is all about defining that and what's appropriate. And what's so beautiful about really good mama horses, like really good human mamas, is they know how to be flexible, and they know a lot. You know, it's not so rigid. And mama horse would be the same way. At a certain age, you're going to allow your baby to build and develop and get more confident. And then they get a little cocky, and mama's going to go, "Whoop, that's a little too much. Too big for your britches right there. You know, pin my ear." You know, you see it with Foxy taking care of Handy, Rebecca. And that's not even her baby, but Foxy has been a mama, and she's a good mama. She's got good mama instincts. So, yep.
Define her as being a real dominant bitchy.
Here's labeling. And that's what the owner was labeling her as, bitchy and dominant. And so that's what kept creating more and creating and instilling more fear in that horse. So that's why when I would have these conversations, and the owner is a friend of mine, and she's a lovely woman. When I would have these conversations with her, like, where did this come from? And I'm not going to use her name. Let's say her name is Patricia. You know, where did it come from, Pat? And Pat's like, "Caroline, honestly, I've only round penned her twice, and she was this way, and she did this, and she did that." But if Pat kept coming into the space of working with this horse, just handling her daily, defensive, and, you know, projecting that type of oh, this horse, oh my God, I better protect myself, or you know, oh, this bitch of a horse, I got to get rid of her. Oh my God, you guys, horses feel that. And it starts to, you almost create the behavior. How you label the horse, you almost create that behavior. You further nurture that negative behavior.
Silly, not at all. She's not. And now she's showing the last couple of days a little more ear pinning and a little more personality, and expressing herself and saying, "I don't know about this." Then it goes away. It's really because she's not sure. But as a baby, that's a pecking thing, and that happens. You just don't want the pecking order to happen to you. You're on top always, just like mama should be on top, mama horse.
Yeah, but it goes deeper than that. Being on top, you guys, doesn't mean you frickin' control everything these horses do. It's like having kids. It's such a learning experience. You know, there are so many guidebooks for raising children. But my God, when you have your own child, it's unique to you, and that obviously the child is an individual. And it's no different with horses. They're so complex emotionally and socially. You can only write a guidebook to a point. You know, that's what I hope the Mastery Membership program has done. When I was creating it, I was very aware of all of this, and I wanted it to be a beautiful, deep, enriching journey, a guide map, a road map, but it's not set in stone. You know, you're set up with specific exercises to help you get to know yourself during this process and your horse. And you never lose sight of the destination. Even that exercise is a destination, but that exercise might take you a month to really learn it and be able to practice it well so that you and your horse feel confident. So it's a stepping stone, right? It's building blocks, and it's a guide, and we all need that structure. But it's that mindset, that linear mindset as humans that we take into it, where, I gotta do it right today, and I've got to fix it today, and I've got to master it tomorrow. And it's like, no, it's a process. It's always a process. And during the process, it's unfolding. You know, you're learning more about yourself, more about your horse, more about your child, whatever the situation is. Yeah.
That was good. Let's do the other side.
She's so relaxed. She's starting to get really confident. So I think that's going to wrap up today. Sorry, we can always come back to this. This will be good for us to do in our private webinar on Friday too. I think I'm going to expand on this, especially you have a great topic, Rebecca, for Friday too, is what to do how to undo, you know, what you've done when you feel like you've done the wrong thing, how to backtrack and make it better. So I think this will segue in, parlay pretty well. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope, just sharing.
Rebecca, what's going on for you? Do you want me to talk about anything else, or you want to share anything before we wrap this up?
The experience of working with a yearling handy of my own has been so much more illuminating and informing of working with older horses, that the course that Susie is in here, I think is your best work. At least for me it is, because it's such a foundation, that whole course. So I'm really enjoying that and being thankful for that, because working with the young horse handy is making working with Foxy or just being around any of the other horses that I'm around so much better. And I'm learning the depth of you know, the feel and the timing, so like just leaps and bounds right now. So thank you for that. That's it.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, thank you. Yeah, I can see where that's your favorite course, because I know how you think, and also remember, you know, that's a baby course. That's restarting a challenging young horse, because most of our young horses have some issues, you guys, because they've just been handled horribly. But every young horse I've ever worked with, that's what they all get. They all pretty much need a lot of help. Their confidence has been broken and destroyed in so many ways, just by the energy of the people handling them and the roughness. Horses are so sensitive and such pleasers. I mean, babies are babies, you know, they're going to act a certain way and reckless like young children, and get hurt and hurt you if you're not careful. But basically, horses should never be, you know, people handle these young horses, you know, so roughly because they're afraid of getting hurt. It's like they handle the big drafts with so much force because they're so intimidated by the big horse. But they're all such gentle animals, you know, they're gentle species. They are so sensitive and careful and caring. And so I'm not really revealing that in this course, because these horses, I am in my own care about how I go about redeveloping them. But I understand why, you know, the Mastery Membership, you can start, you know, the mastery membership gives you all the skills to do the
Yeah.
young horse course.
Yes.
So you're coming from it with the mastery membership first, but for the people that just join the young course, you know, I'm sure they're very overwhelmed on some levels about all the information and thinking, and, you know, and it's not a step-by-step like the mastery membership. So yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, or one comes before the other actually. But thank you. All right, well, I will be diving into this again on Friday, okay? And addressing your specific question that you have for the group. So thank you. Labels. So anything else what do you take away from this? Anything? Did I help you? Was I supposed to help you? Or did you just want to share the misconceptions of labeling?
I always need help. No, I think
Don't we all?
I think it's continuously challenging not to put people and horses into boxes. And so it's just part of my self-work too. You know, I teach a lot of people as well. So just because I think of it one way doesn't mean that that's the end point. So yeah, it's all good.
It's so funny that you bring this up, because you guys don't know Rebecca like we do, but Rebecca is so open. You're just such a sweetheart, and you're such a easy, you're a deep thinker. You're just you're so easygoing and accepting, very accepting. You have boundaries, but everybody polarizes everything real quick before we quit here. You know, I think right there, you're very accepting, but you have boundaries. It's similar to being loving and having leadership. It's not one or the other. It's not so polarizing. We can be all of that. We can be soft and strong. We can be loving and be clear in our leadership. It has to be together. And you know, you are accepting, but then people that don't understand, or they misunderstand, an accepting, tolerant person, which is Rebecca, is a pushover, you know, and Rebecca isn't. You have really great relationships, but a lot of people that are accepting and tolerant like you do become pushovers. And Rebecca is not one of them. And that's because Rebecca does have healthy boundaries. I mean, you've really done a great job. Personally, yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, we love you.
I love you.
We love
Beth.
you.
Yes.
So
That's
yeah,
journey
you gotta
right
get your
there.
butt back down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the journey together.
Yes.
We're all headed in the same destination.
Yes, we are.
What's a journey without a destination? Come on. Oh, yeah. All right. Much love to everyone. God bless you all. I have to get ready to go switch gears.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys next week. Oh, and next week we're going to be, oh my gosh, I forgot next week's podcast.
Oh, it's with Tabitha.
Oh, this
Yes,
is great.
yeah.
Thank you. So next week's podcast is with Tabitha from Great Britain, from the UK, and she is a leading expert on PSSM. And we have one of our mastery membership students got a horse with PSSM 1 and 2. And we're going to talk about how prevalent it is, especially in our quarter horse bloodlines. And I was very aware of it when I got Smokey. We actually thought that he might have it, his bloodlines. But yeah, we're going to talk about PSSM. So please tune in with us and Tabitha next Wednesday.
Yay.
And until then, you guys, may you always be one with your horse. God bless all of you. Thank you. Bye. Mwah.